Right, just to give you a bit of context, I know quite a lot of you, I recognise some of the faces in the audience, but for those who don't, at the moment I work with Education Scotland. I keep saying at the moment, I think everybody says at the moment. I work with Education Scotland and I'm leading on our programme which is called Developing Employability and Skills, and that contains almost all our work on developing the young workforce. And at the beginning of developing the young workforce, I worked with colleagues in Scottish Government and SDS and continue to do so, delivering on a lot of the national expectations. Now, what I wanted to do to start off with was to give us a little bit of context. Somebody before me has already done that, but I wanted to remind you of why we're all here and what should in a way keep us motivated when it all gets too tough, because there are days it does get very tough. So remember, the report from the Wood Commission came out in June 2014, and the reason it had been set up was, remember that we had very high levels of youth unemployment compared with the employment in the rest of the population. That was pretty well common across many European countries, except Germany, Austria and Switzerland. At the time, it was 18%, so 18% of people, and there's some of them sitting here today, between the ages of 16 and 24, remember the famous quote, woke up in the morning, and they didn't know if their country had any use for them. And that's hugely important. I couldn't get my head around the numbers until somebody told me that the 54,000 young people in that bracket were comparable with the 55,000 youngsters who were going into first year across Scotland. And every time I have a bad day, I remember that bit, that a whole generation of, say, first years, that's the equivalent of it, in every school, every secondary school in Scotland, that equivalent number of young people weren't in education, or in training, or employment. Now that number's gone down, and it will fluctuate, but still as a country, it's far too high for us. And that's been the great challenge and the great privilege of being involved with this particular piece of work, because it makes sense. It makes sense to all the people who are engaged and have to be engaged. My main target audience all the time will be teachers, and the passion is that every teacher in every secondary in Scotland owns this as part of their day-to-day work. So whether they're a teacher of geography, or a teacher of chemistry, or the guidance teacher, that everybody has an interest in what's going on here. In other words, they're helping the young people they're working with connect up what they're doing today with what they're going to be doing tomorrow, whenever that tomorrow is. Now we'll come back to that, and I'll show you how that influenced some of the stuff we did. Then the other important thing to say is that was the reason the Wood Commission sat, and you'll probably remember the recommendations were fairly ambitious. There were loud ones from children in school. The big messages to the Wood Commission, and then we worked with young people after that, were short work experience. I'm not going to use some of the language they used because it's not usable in a public platform, but basically they said the 1 week work experience in the majority of cases was a joke, it didn't work for them. And then the other big thing was exactly what I've said to you there. Please get our teachers to give us 5 minutes to talk about what we're learning in class and where that's real out in the working world. So that influenced a lot of what we did in terms of what came next. But the other thing, I suppose, in the context is to make sure that we always remember this is absolutely connected to what the ambition of Curriculum for Excellence was. 2008, we all agreed entitlements. Do you remember them? We said that all young people in this country were entitled to a curriculum, and for curriculum there's a new word, learning pathway, you know, that kind of helps us shape it up a bit. They were entitled to a curriculum which met their needs. They were entitled to learn skills for work. They were entitled to positive destinations. That's 3 out of the 6 entitlements. And of course, we know that when the DYW work came along, it shone a really strong light on that, and it showed us how well we were doing or how well we weren't doing in that area. So, the other thing is, I can't stand here today and not comment on the importance of getting this right, given all that's going on globally. I mean, we could have a whole conversation about that, about what's going on, what the impact of, for instance, Brexit will be, and that's very real. We have to think that through. What does it mean for us as a country, whether we see our country as Scotland or whether we see our country as the UK, given what's also going on in the USA. And so in my head all the time, and if I can just ask you to have this in your head as well as I talk, in my head I have this picture. And on one side of the room, over here, is education. And a lot of us in this room, that's the life we've known. And you know that in education you can stay there forever, because you can go down endless rabbit holes, and you're never finished. You never finish teaching the course the way you want. You never finish doing your planning the way you want. So you can stay in education forever. And over there is the economy. And for a very long time, we've kept these two things very distinctly separate. If you were standing over there, you thought the people who did the economy thing, they were a bit dubious, weren't they? You did this for the greater good and for the good of society and all of that. I mean, that's writ large in me. It's like a rock of iron. Now, if we don't make the joins between these two in really tangible ways, we're in a really poor place going forward, and our youngsters are in a poor place, because you know, the other big thing is going on in the debate is, again, international, and especially across Europe. What do we do about what people are calling the fourth revolution, the fourth industrial revolution, technological revolution? People call it different things. But we know we're in that now. And you have to look for the tangible signs, but they're there. And the children, my own personal children, the children who are in school today in Ayrshire, they're going to live in a different world to the world I've inhabited. So all of that, you know, puts great pressure on us to get this right. So in a way, that's context setting. And then what I wanted you to do just now was, because I'm conscious of time and we're on a timer, if you look in front of you on the table, I've put summarised versions of the plans for this year and next year. So just a couple of things I wanted to highlight there for you. If you look at the 2016-17 one, and what you have in front of you there is a summary of the targets and the milestones that are in this thing called the Youth Employment Strategy, which I'm guessing all of you guys are very familiar with because of the work you've been doing here in Ayrshire. That's a public-facing document that we report on year. The report came out in December, ending the second year of this work. It's a 7-year programme of work. And let's be clear about the scale of ambition. It absolutely is asking us to change the system and change the way the system works. And what do I mean by that? There are huge pressures for secondary schools to change the way they work. That's what it asks them to do. When you start working out the logic of it, it's asking a lot. If you look at the 2016-17 plan, just to give you a little idea of some of the stuff that's going on this year, and look right across it, because again, remember the bit I did about the columns, the education over here and the economy over there? What we found was that colleagues who work in schools were only reading the section on schools, and colleagues who work in colleges were only reading the section colleges. So we put it together for our own benefit so that you can begin to interplay. If all of these things happen, and so far this plan is on target and it is delivering, it's in year 3, and that's always an interesting stage because now we've all stopped being polite to each other across the nation, and we're into really hard stuff, like who does what? Who gets the money to do that? Are you really the best person to do that? We're going to talk about that too. But if you look across there, see under the schools one, third bullet down, just as a matter of interest. Hold that in your head. Employability and enterprise professional standards and development. Tomorrow, the first group will meet. GTCS are the group who register at the moment school staff. They also work with college staff. They are about to review all their professional standards. That will be one of the levers that goes into the structure, into the change of the system. How do we get in there the requirement that all of our teachers have a professional standard which requires them to know about that economy thing over there? So that's starting tomorrow. Well, it's already started. The group are meeting to begin take the first steps in that work. And then if you look right across to the equality one, look at the employers one first, and the bullet right at the top there in 16-17, there's two things tied up in that. Resources available to support school leaders, and you've got school leaders in here today. And then it also says with opportunities for emerging school leaders. So in the room tomorrow there'll be GTCS, there'll also be SCEL. There will be representatives from local authorities. What is it we do and what is it we offer at local level, at regional level and at national level? So we need to work that out. Capacity building the capacity of all our people is really critical now. So that's going on. And then again, if you look, Donny spoke, I'm not going to say much about inspection because he gave you a really good overview this morning, but if you look at equality, right at the top there, that top bullet, that's a really challenging bullet, a really challenging ask. Secondary school inspection of active gender targeting. People don't even know what that means, active gender targeting. What exactly does that mean? What does it look like? There's a lot of work in that. That's going on this year as well. And when I say that's going on, what that means in reality is that you have to take your team of inspectors and they have to understand what that means and what it looks like in best practice. So that's just to give you a flavour of some of the stuff that's going on at system level. You'll see also in the schools one, it says in the last 2 bullets in that column, you know, the bit that Donny told you about, which is that there's a real building up of inspection activity this year across early years to secondary. And before I stop this particular sheet, in colleges, I mean, there are people here from colleges too. You can see, for instance, the 3rd bullet down, STEM, the connections that we made across colleges and schools. But also, you'll be aware that the whole arrangement for review of colleges has changed. And again, I don't know if Donny touched on that because I was late in coming in, but that has changed from now. And everybody who's involved with the college will be involved in helping the college evaluate how effective it is in doing what it's supposed to do. And that's tied into that last bullet round about the new outcome agreements. So I say that to you because there's a lot going on if you want at system level and at national level to shift what we currently know. The other thing to say, which is not on these sheets, but you will have seen it maybe in the delivery plan, you certainly have heard about it maybe in various bulletins, is that there's a learner journey review. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of that, 16, 15 to 24. That's a fairly big piece of work. It's with ministers at the moment. They want to look and see what it looks like to be a 15-year-old who wants to have a range of options, who wants to move between school and college. Is there a common application process? Especially for the youngsters for whom this is really challenging. They don't have a network of support to help them. So we're going to look at the learner journey and how can you make the arrangements around that, the financial modelling, as well as the provision smoother. That's another huge piece of work to take. So that's to give you some idea of what's going on this year, and you can obviously then reflect if you go further on to the 17-18. Again, you'll see some of what's expected there. The only one I want to pause on there is, and I was talking there to Ian and Gordon earlier on, how do we begin to measure the impact of what we're all doing? How do we begin to measure that? For instance, it says there that every secondary school will have an active business partner. Now, let me tell you what that means. That means that they are actively planning their curriculum and the offer that young people get with business. So it's that join between education and the economy. Now, to give you an idea, in year 1 of this programme, the response from some colleagues was, every secondary school does have a business partnership. But when you unpick that, what they meant was, they have a business, they have somebody coming in to give a careers talk to the kids. That's not what this means. This means that you are working with your local businesses in order, and colleges and training providers, in order to plan the curriculum. And so if I then move forward a little bit and give you an idea, Education Scotland will provide some support in this area. One of the plans for next year is that we're going to support regional planning. You're already well ahead in Ayrshire. You've got structures in place, you've got commitment at strategic level. The college and the 3 authorities are working really well together. You're in a good place. Your issue is going to be, where do you go next? What's the scale of your ambition? Don't allow yourselves to get complacent. Don't say to yourselves, we can take a wee break because the rest aren't there. In some parts of Scotland, we haven't got the structure that you've got. Today, you were going round tables, you were exploring, I was listening to you in there, the possibilities that come from all of that, the possibilities for the youngsters. You're in a really good place. So the only way for you is up. So we'll keep coming back and asking you for the next ambitious thing. So in terms of Education Scotland, we're very much pushing the whole need to connect across all our areas of work. So how is there a connection between what's going on in STEM, which was a priority, remember, in Wood, and is an absolute priority for the economy of the country? How do you connect that with what's going on in DYW? And I think over the past year, as an organisation, we've done that pretty well. We've got a lot of a lot of connection between the two areas so that they're almost seamless now. Equally, somebody mentioned today creativity. In Ayrshire, for instance, it's really interesting sitting signing off things. I know that there's a big project on creativity going on in the Ayrshire area. There's a big project on STEM going on. And again, my question would be, how is that connecting up for the young person? Do they make sense of that, or do they see it as separate pieces of work? I want to pause a minute and remind you of this particular document. Now, I'm not going to major in this today because there's no time, but one about the guys who leads in this, where is he? I can't see him. Where is he sitting? Klaus, where are you? Could you just wave it out? So Klaus, I think he's already been working in Ayrshire on this, but if you want any more detail on this, do ask Klaus. We're not doing a separate presentation. All I wanted to say about this was that this was very much developed with young people, from aged 8 right up to 16, 17. They helped us shape the entitlements for young people. Please make sure that you know this. What we're finding just now, we're doing a review of it, and that's very quick for education. We only published it last year in September, and we've sent a team out to find out how well do teachers in classrooms know about this. And what's basically happened with this is that what we were trying to do was make sure that the main partners, the employers, the parents, the biggest influencers, SDS, who have a huge role to play in this, teachers, practitioners, anybody who's working with young people, that what we expected them to do, we all wrote this in the one document. Really important we understand that, really important that regional groups, the DYW regional employer groups, are looking at what employers are being asked to do here, have agreed to do in order to support this. And we're already starting to see a shift in terms of what youngsters know. So let me explain what I mean by that. There are specialist inspection reviews of SIAG, careers inspection and guidance. 2 have just been published, one in Renfrew, one in Highland. And the team who were doing that came back and they said that for the first time ever, when they were interviewing groups of young people, they were getting different responses because the approach had changed. So I'll give you one example. One young person said, I'm now doing subject X, which I would never have chosen because I don't like the teacher and I don't like the subject. But I now know I need that subject to do what I want to do. And that's a first. We've not seen that before. So there's a lot of movement in the system, and it's how we then capitalise it. So I urge you to go back and look at this again, and look at the power that sits in the entitlements for the young people, and work out how we can use that to make the join between education and the economy. Now, I think I'm running over, so I'm just going to wind down a bit here. What I wanted to finish with was some kind of reflections, and they're very much my own reflections on what I've seen as I've gone about. We made a commitment early on to work, absolutely to work with people on the ground, people who are doing the job on a day-to-day basis. And that's been one of the richest learning points for everybody involved. You've got Gordon here. I mean, he's on. He will be your expert on the senior phase. He's not already the expert. I'm not putting under too much pressure there. Really important that when you're going forward, you understand that you've got a shared ambition. I've been time and again sitting with groups of people, and what DYW means to one of them is not the same as it means to another one. So every so often, I'm assuming you've already done this, but every so often, revisit the ambition that you have together. What is it you want to see in Ayrshire? What kind of place is it going to be for young people to grow up? And are you all buying into that? And if you haven't done that exercise, it's worth doing at different stages as you go on.